Oh, Lord, it's good to be here with you. Look, I need to be brutally honest with you right from the start because if I'm not, this whole thing falls apart. I used to be that person who walked into a room and immediately felt like everyone could smell my anxiety. Like literally, I thought people had some sixth sense that detected awkward energy, and mine was screaming at full volume. I'd be standing there with my arms crossed, not because I was trying to look cool, but because I genuinely had no idea what to do with my hands. My brain would be going a million miles an hour, cycling through every possible thing I could say, and then rejecting all of them because they all sounded stupid. Have you ever been there? Standing in a group conversation, nodding along like you're totally engaged, but inside you're having a full-blown panic attack about whether you should speak up or just keep pretending you're fascinated by whatever boring story Dave from accounting is telling. Yeah, that was me, every single day. Here's the thing that nobody tells you about being socially awkward. It's not actually about lacking social skills. I mean, sure, that's part of it, but the real problem runs so much deeper. The real issue is that when you're anxious, you're stuck in your own head, completely disconnected from the present moment. You're so busy monitoring yourself, judging yourself, and predicting all the ways you're about to embarrass yourself that you're not actually there. You're like a ghost at your own social interactions, and people can feel that. They can sense when someone's not really present, when they're performing instead of just being. That's what makes things awkward, not your lack of conversational tactics or your inability to tell jokes. Before we go any further, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button for Confident Connection Lab right now because what I'm about to share with you literally changed my entire life. And I want to make sure you stick around for the rest of this journey. We're building something real here, a community of people who are done pretending they have it all figured out. And hey, I'm genuinely curious. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching this from. Are you in your room avoiding a party? On your lunch break dreading going back to the office? I want to know because your story matters. And honestly, it helps me know I'm not alone in this. So here's the first micro habit that completely shifted everything for me. And I'm going to be real with you. It sounds stupid at first. I discovered that the key wasn't to try harder or learn more techniques. The key was to stop trying to control how people perceived me. I know, that sounds like generic self-help nonsense, but stay with me. I started practicing this tiny thing, this 3-second reset where I would catch myself spiraling into self-judgment, and instead of fighting it, I'd just acknowledge it. I'd literally say in my head, okay, I'm anxious right now, and that's fine. Not, I shouldn't be anxious. Not what's wrong with me. Just okay. This is what's happening. This simple acknowledgement, this tiny moment of self-compassion, created this weird space between me and my anxiety. Suddenly, I wasn't my anxiety anymore. I was just a person who happened to be feeling anxious, and that's a completely different thing. What happened next blew my mind. When I stopped fighting my awkwardness and just let it exist without judgment, something shifted in how I showed up. I wasn't performing confidence anymore. I wasn't trying to hide my nerves or compensate with forced enthusiasm. I was just there, present, a little nervous maybe, but real. And you know what's wild? People responded to that authenticity way better than they ever responded to my attempts at being smooth or cool. Turns out, everyone's a little awkward inside. And when you stop pretending you're not, you give other people permission to drop their masks too. That's when real connection happens, not in the perfectly crafted responses or the witty comebacks, but in those honest, slightly messy, totally human moments where we're all just trying our best. All right, so you've acknowledged your awkwardness, you've made peace with it, and now you're probably thinking, okay, cool, but I still feel like a weirdo when I talk to people, so what now? Fair question. Let me tell you about the night I discovered what I call the 3-second rule, and No, it's not about dropping food on the floor. I was at this networking event, which is basically hell on earth for socially anxious people, right? I'm standing there with my drink, doing that thing where you pretend to be busy on your phone because making eye contact feels like base jumping without a parachute. Then this person walks up to me, introduces themselves, and I freeze. Complete brain shutdown. I had exactly 3 seconds before the silence got weird, and in those 3 seconds, my entire nervous system was screaming at me to run. But here's what I learned from studying how confident people actually operate. And this is backed by research I dove into like a madman when I was desperate to fix myself. The difference between chill people and anxious people isn't that chill people don't feel nervous. They do. The difference is what they do in those first 3 seconds when anxiety hits. Anxious people, people like past me, we retreat inward. We start monitoring ourselves. We think about thinking. We judge our physical sensations. Chill people, they do the opposite. They move outward. They focus on the other person, the environment, anything external. It's this tiny shift in attention direction that happens in literally 3 seconds or less, but it changes everything about how the interaction unfolds. So I started practicing these micro habits, these almost invisible adjustments that happen in that crucial 3-second window. First one, and this sounds ridiculously simple, but when you feel that wave of anxiety hit, take one slow breath through your nose and deliberately relax your shoulders. That's it. Don't try to eliminate the anxiety. Don't fight it. Just breathe and drop your shoulders. This does 2 things. It sends a signal to your nervous system that you're not actually in danger, and it stops you from tensing up in that defensive, closed-off posture that screams, "I'm uncomfortable, please leave me alone." I tested this at another event, and I swear, the difference was night and day. My body language changed, which changed how people approached me, which changed the entire dynamic of the interaction. Second micro habit, and this one saved my ass so many times. In those 3 seconds, ask yourself one question. What's one thing I'm genuinely curious about with this person? Not what should I say, not how do I look, but what am I actually curious about? Maybe it's their jacket, maybe it's the book they're holding, maybe it's just the fact that they chose to talk to you. Find that tiny spark of genuine interest and follow it. I remember doing this with someone at a coffee shop, and instead of my usual anxious small talk about weather and traffic, I noticed they had this beat-up notebook covered in stickers. I asked about it, not because I had some strategic conversation plan, but because I was genuinely curious. They lit up, told me about their travels, and we ended up talking for an hour. That conversation happened because I redirected my attention outward in those first 3 seconds. Third micro habit, this is the game changer. Before you speak, pause for literally 1 second and ask yourself, am I about to say this because I genuinely want to share it, or am I saying it because I'm trying to fill silence or prove something? This 1 second check filters out so much of the anxious word vomit that makes conversations awkward. I used to throw out random facts, jokes that didn't land, or stories that went nowhere, all because I was panicking about silence. Now, I pause, check my intention, and if I'm just trying to perform or avoid discomfort, I don't speak. And you know what? The silence isn't nearly as scary as I thought. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just be present and let the moment breathe. These 3 micro habits, breathe and drop your shoulders, find genuine curiosity, and check your intention. They happen in seconds, but they compound into a completely different way of showing up in the world. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit about becoming socially confident. The final step isn't learning more techniques or memorizing more conversation starters. The final step is letting go of the desperate need to be liked by everyone. I know that sounds counterintuitive, like, wait, isn't the whole point to get better at connecting with people? Yeah, But there's a massive difference between wanting to connect and needing validation. When you need people to like you, you become this weird approval-seeking robot, constantly scanning for signs that you're doing it right or screwing it up. When you simply want to connect but don't need it, you become magnetic. People feel that difference immediately, even if they can't articulate why. Let me tell you about the moment this clicked for me. I was at a party, practicing all these micro habits we've talked about, feeling pretty good about myself. Then I noticed this group having what looked like a fascinating conversation, and old me would have hovered awkwardly nearby, trying to find the perfect moment to jump in. But something shifted. I realized I had a choice. I could either force my way into that conversation because I was afraid of being left out, or I could genuinely not care and go find something else interesting to do. So I walked away. I grabbed another drink, started talking to someone else who was also standing alone, and ended up having one of the best conversations of my life. That person introduced me to 3 other people, and suddenly, I was in the center of an amazing group discussion. None of that would have happened if I'd been clinging to my need to be included in that first conversation. This is what I call productive detachment, and it's the most powerful habit you can develop. It's not about being cold or disconnected. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't determined by whether this particular person likes you or this specific conversation goes well. Some conversations will be amazing, some will be mediocre, some will crash and burn, and that's all completely fine. When you truly internalize this, when you stop treating every social interaction like a performance review, something magical happens. You relax. You become playful. You say what you actually think instead of calculating the safest response. You take risks, make jokes that might not land, share opinions that might be unpopular. And paradoxically, people like you more because you're finally being real. Here's how these micro habits compound over time. Remember that 3-second rule? The breath, the genuine curiosity, the intention check? When you practice those consistently, they stop being techniques and start becoming who you are. You don't have to think about them anymore. They're just your default mode. You walk into a room, you're not immediately catastrophizing about all the ways you could embarrass yourself. You're just there, present, open, curious about what might happen. That shift from effortful control to natural presence, that's the transformation we're after. That's what turns you from awkward to genuinely chill. So here's what I want you to understand, really understand. You're not broken. You never were. You were just operating from a place of fear and self-judgment, which is totally normal and something we all do. But now, you have these tools, these tiny adjustments you can make in 3 seconds or less that will completely change your social experience. Practice them. Mess up. Try again. Give yourself permission to be imperfect, awkward, and human. And hey, if this video helped you even a little bit, do me a solid and subscribe to Confident Connection Lab. We're building a community of real people who are done pretending they have it all figured out, and I'd love to have you on this journey with us. Because here's the truth. Life isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you already are, just without all the fear and self-judgment getting in the way. And that version of you, that version is already pretty damn chill.